Well, that's a fair old heap of clay. But look over the top. Sometimes you've just got to have a bit of faith. And there it is. Soil, real soil. And you can see the edge of the clay there, which makes it so much more achievable just to chip it out and pull it off the top of the soil. And I don't think there's that much left of that clay. I think I can probably get back to about here, and I'm in the fast lane then. Got to get a bit out of the edge, and of course got quite a lot to move. But is that reassuring? Fantastic. I think I'm going to be dodging the showers today, but there's an awful lot to do, and I've had huge motivation from getting through that clay and getting down to the soil level. But the next steps are going to be, well, quite challenging. So I need to get on with them because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a lot of other things happened today. I'll have a quick walk round and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But first of all, let's go down and have a look at the area where the clay is going. And I'm raising the level of the ground. And I'll show you what I'm up against. So here we are. I've continued to drop the clay down here because this is where I'm raising the ground, and as you can see, it's quite an extensive amount now, and I need to be a bit careful. I've got plenty of room to go down in there, and it will drag across, and I can still put some down here, but I'm conscious that looking at what is still to be taken out, that I'm definitely going to have more than I need down at that low level. So I'm needing to think about what to do with it, and of course there is an obvious answer, and that is to use it. And as many of you have suggested, the best place to use it, or some of it, would be down where I'm trying to stop the weed encroaching on those beds. So this is the area, and I've stored some of the clay already, the bits that didn't have too much weed growth in them, because you can see there is a bit of couch grass in them, but it seems to die off and pull out real easy. And this is where I've dug down because I was thinking I needed to have a barrier in there, and I still will put, I think, one of these corrugated metal barriers down in there. But in the age-old fashion of belts and braces, the suggestion is that I get down in here and get myself a trench to put clay into, which means me getting over there and trenching out, and that will enable me to take a lot of the clay straight here and drop it down in the trench. And whilst I'm over there, I've got that tree just to keep under control, so I'm going to need my secateurs as well. So I think there's a plan to get that trench done pretty quickly and then start moving across with the clay. And I've brought my secateurs over to get that tree sorted, but I've also brought my hammer. And this morning when I was walking Scamp, I noticed that there was some roofing going on, and they were throwing out all these batons, and you can see they're full of nails, but that's what my hammer will do, remove those nails. And then I've got, I think I counted 16 lengths of what I call 2x1, and in my head I think I'm going to make a gooseberry cage to cover these 8 plants. So I'm starting to work up a plan of how I can use those to make that cage. They're certainly a perfect height because they stand probably a couple of feet above the height of the gooseberries, and of course they will grow up, but the probably never will let them get more than 3 or 4 feet because I just don't want that much height. So I've got nails to take out of wood, I've got clay to move over, and a trench to build. But I've also got something else. You see here the wind has blown over a couple of my raspberries. I'm going to need to scoop them up in a bit. But as you know, I needed a tree for this bed, and this tree, as you can see, is badly suffering from canker, and that needs to come out. So I needed 2 trees, and I had a lot of suggestions, and there's some wonderful trees that people suggested, but prices, oh my word, probably £30 plus postage for a number of those varieties, and that's just a bit more than I want to be spending. But this morning I went into one of our local general stores, I call it, and I found fruit trees had been delivered, bare rooted, or at least tied around with, I think it's a cling film, and they were just £6 each. And that one is a Cox's Orange Pippin. It's a small tree and it's on the right rootstock, so that's great. And there was also £6 a plum called Opal, and that's a mighty fine looking tree. And I do have an opal. This is an opal. So I'm thinking I'll put one in there and have one here, and that probably will help pollination. So that's a good thing. And an apple goes in the far one. I have got garlic in there, of course. I have to get my head around quite how to plant it without too much disturbance for the garlic. So, an awful lot to do. It's going to be one of those days when I could well bite off more than I could chew. But first things first, I think I need to get on with that trenching so I've got somewhere to put all the excess clay. That's really come together up there now. So this is the lane outside of my allotment. You can see how overgrown it is in here. So I'm going to start trenching it out and see how I get on. I think it's going to be quite a challenge. Well, I've done a little test dig in here and I can get down to the soil, and I think it's just going to be the perseverance. It doesn't have to be neat, it just has to come out so that I can drop clay down into the trench. So I also won't mind if there's a bit of an air gap between the trench that I build and my beds, and that'll serve as another barrier. Thought this was something interesting then, but probably not. Right, I'm going to get on and trench it out. That was exhausting, and I've hit a sort of layer of rocks down here, so I can't go a lot deeper than that, but my beds are a good 6-8 inches higher than that sort of trench, so I've taken out pretty much everything I can, and I'm sure I've prevented myself a lot of work in the future. Some of these roots are just so big. So that's the trench I'm going to use, and it won't be 100%, but it's 100% better than it was. So I think clay from here on in will be going over the top and into the trench, and then I will just compress it as tight as I possibly can. I might take out just a little bit more in that corner, save some growth in the corner, but I think that's probably as good as I'm going to do. So I'm going to have a little go at this tree, take out that little corner, and then see how I feel, because I tell you what, it's pretty exhausting. Well, that took way more energy than I thought it would, but there we go. And I'm just going to scoop this stuff from the edge, which I struggled to get to when I was digging this trench down into my bed, and that will get rid of what little weed there was left in the bottom of that. And then I'm into dropping this clay over the top. So that's the plan. There's a little bit here which can come out and go over onto that soil, and then I think I'm done with protecting these beds for now. Right, clay time. I think if I put my barrier in next, it'll mean that I've got a clear definition between the clayed area and where I'm going to have the bed. So I think it might pay me to do that. I can get down really low now and get that barrier in so that it's got some depth to it. There we go. Right, I'll go and get that, get it in place, and then do the clay. Right, this is the corrugated, I think it's tin, something like that. And that's how it's going to be a barrier. It's not quite wide enough, but it'll do. I think if I do it like that, and then I can push the soil back down onto it to firm it in place. I need a little bit more out of that edge. There we go. Yeah, over a bit. Right, now I can put things in front of it. Ooh. And hold it there. Right, that should keep it in place. Now I can put clay over the top. Well, it wasn't my energy that put a stop to today's work, it was the weather. And just over there, behind the shed, it's as black as the ace of spades. So I thought I'd finish this video off by showing you what this clay trench looks like, having emptied quite a few barrows full of that clay into it. Let's have a quick look. So as you can see, it got pretty wet last night, which is no bad thing, but I need to just push one or two of these wayward clay lumps over. But I'm getting down now into this area. I've still got quite a bit more clay to come off of that raspberry bed, but I think it'll do a good job. And then I'll compact it all down and think I'll get it quite smooth, because smooth invariably stops seeds from gathering. So if I can make it smooth, I probably will. Well, that's me done for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, why not like and subscribe, and click the bell up in the top right hand corner, and you'll get my notifications every Sunday and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Have a good one.